Our lesson today is about our first reading. It is on the book of Ruth. We'll be reading from this book for about a week and a half. The book of Ruth is named for the Moabite woman who commits herself to the Israelite people by an oath to her mother-in-law, Naomi, and becomes the great-grandmother of David by marriage to Boaz of Bethlehem. We meet him, I think, tomorrow. Thus, she is an ancestor to the messianic line that leads to Jesus. The book portrays the love and loyalty of human beings in working their way through tragic circumstances to participation in the community of the faithful people of God. The key is responsible and loving decision-making. Ruth's loyalty, her generosity, and her willingness to take risks for the sake of the righteousness set in motion a chain of beneficial events, while behind the scenes, God blesses each step in the developing drama. Ruth is so frequently designated the Moabite in the book that the audience of the story is constantly reminded of the universality of the embrace of salvation. In the Greek and Latin canons, the previous translations, Ruth follows Judges in the order of the Gospels, or in the order of the books of the Bible, to which it is related by its opening time reference, which I just read, once back in the time of the Judges. And it precedes the book of Samuel, serving as transition from Israel as tribal union to monarchy. In the present sequence of the Hebrew canon, it is placed among the writings immediately after the book of Proverbs, which ends with the powerful portrayal of the woman of worth. Ruth is the primary liturgical text in Judaism for the celebration of the Feast of the Weeks, and that is Sukkot. For us, it is 3 weeks from now, 20 through 27 September. The beauty of the story's construction, its use of dialogue, which is nearly 2/3 of the entire text, and the sheer drama of its content mark it as one of the classic short stories of world literature. Based on the recollection of a historical figure, a story is developed which grips its audience with profound insight into divine and human relationships. The story is presented from a point some time after the course of events, as is indicated by the explanation of an obscure custom in 4:7, next week's readings. Wherever and whenever it was told, its claim of God's universal concern for humankind and the attractiveness of caring human responsibility shines forth. The date of composition, though, is very disputed. Many authors date it early in the monarchy period, and valid arguments can be presented for this position. Others argue for a post-exilic date, after the exile, that is. They see the favorable presentation of a Moabite woman who becomes David's grandmother as counter to the stringent measures of Ezra and Nehemiah against marriage with the Moabites and other non-Jews. So as you listen to the stories, think about when this would have happened. What makes sense? Would the grandmother of our greatest Savior and the Savior of all Jews have been allowed to be a non-Jew? There's a question for you. And that one does deal with discrimination. So we'll be in Ruth for I think 2 weeks. But this is a very important book. So I encourage you to read it. Not just going through the readings for the days, but read the whole book. It's not that long. And it is very interesting. I wish you all peace, and peace be unto those with whom you live, and peace be granted to all whom you encounter.